Oh, yeah, she absolutely did.
I loved her. Debbie Ford had lots of very wise words. Okay, here we are with my Lauren Bacall imitation today. I'm a little squeaky, but I'm here and I feel fine.
It's the sexy voice version.
Thank you. It's really a nice social redeeming factor to feel good and sound sexy. I'm okay with that. Maybe
Yeah,
it'll
and as long
stay.
as,
Who
long as it
knows?
doesn't hurt your voice anymore, which is good news, or hurt your throat
Yeah,
rather.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've talked to a couple new guys, and I'm like, I really don't sound like this, which maybe
But
they
enjoy it
don't.
while you can.
Yeah. So this is goingsolomedia.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo TV, and Internet's popular internet radio and TV station for singles. And this is Let's Talk About Dating. Thank you, Zizi, for with Barry and Christine. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. Or she's I'll call you Lauren now.
I know. Or Brenda Vaccaro. Didn't she used to have kind of a
Yeah,
sexy,
she does. Yeah.
raspy voice? Yeah, I always thought she had a cool voice. So today we're talking about what dating and relationship issues are still showing up. And we all have
It's
that thing
being
where,
a 5-hour show, isn't it?
yeah, I thought I worked on that. I thought I dealt with that. I thought I already did that. Why is it still showing up?
Right.
So in my world, I say often it's just layers like an onion. Yeah, you
Hmm.
probably did, hopefully. Maybe not at all, but hopefully you've worked on it some and there's just a new layer that's showing up. So I think if it is the exact same thing that keeps showing up, maybe you need to be doing something completely differently to be addressing it.
Hmm.
And if it's a newer, deeper level, maybe you just need somebody to help you go get with that deeper level. That now it's time to really work on that and get through it because there is finally an end to particular things. There's always new learning. That's I figure we don't come back in this physical body if we don't still have things to learn about. So I'm like, what is my squeaky voice teaching me now, right?
Right. I mean, I'm gonna say this up front now, although I'll probably say it again at the back end because we'll probably do the summary. Is that basically for most people, the issues around relationship and dating only show up when they're dating or in a relationship
Yeah.
because they don't think about it when they're not in a relationship. Most
Mm-mm.
people, just not everybody, most people. So
Yeah.
many people talking about people watching this. It's the other people.
Yeah.
But the thing is that just to make them feel like they're welcome.
Yeah. It's
But
always those other people.
exactly, it's those other people. However, or the caveat is that you don't have to wait to the next partner to figure out what those issues are and resolve them. And
Yeah.
that's what I did myself. I mean, I had the relationships not teach me, excuse me. I had the relationships show me what was not working. And when I was single, I did the work to stop it from happening again.
Yeah.
And so I highly recommend if you're watching this, and we'll talk about it later on, hanging in touch with either one of us, that frankly, doing the work when you're on your own means your next relationship doesn't have to carry the weight of that stuff.
Yeah.
You can actually enjoy the relationship for all of its joy and upliftment and new learnings versus the old crap that's still carrying around. So this is gonna
Uh,
be a good conversation, I trust.
yes, for that reason specifically, because what I found too, personally and with my clients, is it's like central casting says, oh, this is the next thing you need to notice to work on. And you might
Right.
not notice it on your own. So let's put somebody in front of you who has either, don't you find this, the similar issue? So you like ping it at each other, or somebody who does something, they don't really have the same issue, but they bring it out in you, the
I find
abandonment or
right.
the not trusting, and they're not even acting that way, but who they are as a person. They remind you of a past love or they remind you of your parent, that they'll just show up and you'll go, oh crap. Oh, I'm feeling worried and afraid and concerned. And it must be them to finally say,
Right.
oh, I think it's me. I think I'm the person that should be working on this. Because then the central casting won't need to keep sending that to you anymore.
Well, that's the thing is for me, I would say that yes, or I should say yes, the reciprocal pattern shows up where the person comes into my life and they bring forward the things I haven't resolved yet
Yeah.
in reflection. But when it's the same as mine, usually those are just people I notice in the world, because that's like the universe going, see, this is what you don't want.
Yeah.
So it's different. I don't usually meet prospective dates carrying around the same thing I am. They're usually carrying the reflection or the inverse of it, where it fits, like the dovetailing pattern type methodology. So that what my stuff is fits what their stuff is. So they're an abandoning type because I feel abandoned,
Yeah.
or they're an overly needy type because I like having my own time. All these sort of what those things are. So it's the intersecting patterns is the key thing.
Yeah. I've
me.
had that too, but I've certainly had similar. Not so much lately, but oh my goodness, I've had people show up. I told you I married somebody who we had such similar problems, in our growing up time and our relationship time. And it was very heavy to be married to somebody who's carrying around some of the same things as you.
Yeah.
And I do think, you might have an opportunity through marriage counseling, or if you both really are set on working through this, to be able to work through it together. I've talked to couples that have had some similar problems in their own personal life that they worked through together, really hard work. But that did not happen in my first marriage because he didn't
No.
think it was him. And that's really impossible if you don't take a look at what's your part in it.
That is the challenge oftentimes in relationships,
Mm.
that one partner is going to take responsibility and the other one won't.
Yeah.
It's like when both partners take responsibility, saying, okay, we're both contributing to this issue.
Yeah.
Let's both get support for it.
Yeah.
Boy, if that was everybody doing that, it'd be so much easier, but it's not, unfortunately. It's probably, I mean, the percentage wise, I'm sure it's less than half, a lot less than half to do that. The other part is that, again, working through this when you're on your own, like if you're single when you're watching our talk here, this is the good news. You can do a lot of this work before you meet somebody else again. But the thing is that truly that it's easier, I think, to do the work when you're on your own, versus when you're not in a relationship with somebody else, where there's so much history and baggage and other stuff going on that you want trying to work on it. There's almost these what's what I'm looking for? There's a thought I have. It's like having these the old practical joke where someone put like a bucket of water over a doorway that slightly opens, so when you walk through it falls on you, like booby traps. That's the word. So it's those things. We have relationships, so sometimes you got to work with something with your partner, but there's booby traps in your history and the way you respond to when. So if they do something, you're going to respond so fast. They're like, where'd that come from? But it's those trigger, those hair trigger responses. So when you're on your own, single, first of all, you don't have anybody else to lash out at. But secondly, you can probably dig a lot deeper because you're not having to perform for somebody else either.
No.
So.
And I have found, for me personally, as well as with my clients, sometimes even in between relationships, you could have a friend show up that'll poke at something, or a relative that'll poke at something. And to just take note, why do I feel like that? What brought that up? What message am I telling myself about what happened? How did that cause me to react that way? Because it probably wasn't really them. It's your reaction to them. Because that's the thing that's so amazing. I used to tell people when I planned weddings and they'd have all this stuff with their mom or somebody, and I go, just don't invite my mom. I have no stuff with your mom. I can deal with your mom head on, because I'd see her coming. But it was funny. I read this thing once that said, how can your mom push your buttons so well? And it's like, because she installed them. So she knows where they are. That's really funny. And that's really true. So the more close this person feels to you, the more vulnerable you feel, the more you want to please them, the more you want them to please you, and the easier you can feel disappointed or angry or frustrated. Mm-hmm. So if you can start with, what does the cashier do that annoys you? What's the person at the gas station does that annoys you? Usually I'm having people, me, I'm Miss Pollyanna. I want everybody to look at the positive things. But I've given this exercise to a few clients and to myself and said, just pay attention throughout the day, even if it's just a little blip. What bothers you? What annoys you? What gets on your nerves? Because that's some old stuff if it's repeatedly happening over and over. And if you're not dealing with it and it keeps coming up, you're just going to call it in the next relationship, loud and clear. Well, that's what you want because you keep concentrating on it. So that's what we're going to send you. Don't you find that?
It's almost in a way that we sort of put up this, I won't say unconscious, but this invisible call for help. Like, I need to work on this issue. Let me send me somebody who can trigger that for me.
Yes.
But that's the thing. I mean, if you really look at that as part of the reason we do this work as humans while we're on the planet, that's the gift. It doesn't feel like it often times. It's just like, no, don't deal with that. But when it shows up and you get a chance to work through it and be free of it, that's the key, by the way, is to be free of that issue once and for all. That's hugely refreshing, rewarding, releasing. So to have a sense of, like, not to be afraid of it, but to be okay with it. It's like, oh, this again. Let me work through this once and for all and be okay with it and done with it.
Yeah.
You know, the mother-in-law or the mother type stuff, whatever it is. Definitely, I'm willing to face this now. Let's bring it on. Let's work through it and be done with it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like the Band-Aid idea. You know, the Band-Aid, there's like 2 ways taking the Band-Aid off. And people think if you rip the Band-Aid off, it hurts worse. Like, well, actually, if you do the comparison between like one tearing off, or if you just tear off a little bit over time, ultimately that's a lot more painful than that sharp one. Yes, it feels more pain initially, but dissipates quicker. So to face your issues and work through it with somebody in a short time frame versus a 20-year marriage is going to be a lot less painful ultimately and a lot less freeing. A lot more freeing, excuse me.
Yeah. So some of the issues that typically come up, I thought that would be a good thing for us to go through, since
yes,
not like you and I have not dealt with them for ourselves, but
no,
also
so we have
what we
resolved every one of them, of course.
That's why we're such good coaches, because we've been down
Oh, yeah.
all of those roads. We've
Done
explored
everything.
every one of those.
Absolutely.
I
In
speak more
case
with
it was
my
not, but in case you can't see our faces, we're joking.
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh, we're so joking.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of what you and I, why people like working with us, because yes, we can be really serious and we can sit with them with their pain. And also we can show them the lighthearted side of getting through it and getting past it, and that it doesn't have to feel like brain surgery. I mean, it doesn't have to feel horrible and awful every minute. There's times when you just look at it and go, oh, that is pretty silly. Oh, wow, look what I am reacting to. Oh, yeah, I guess that doesn't make a lot of sense. Or, yeah, I guess it does feel really good to get past it. So I think you and I, because of our life experience and our professional experience, know how to balance that. So I'm glad that you pointed that out, especially for the people that can't see us chuckling and hear my squeaky laugh, that it's important to reach a balance, because if it all feels like drudgery, if it all feels horrible and awful to work through anything, who the hell's going to want to do it? I mean, really, you need to have some lighthearted times and some stop and feel accomplished. This morning, my client she's rattling off all this stuff that she's really been working on hard. And it's like this throwaway. I said, stop. Let's take each one of those things and celebrate them. Those were huge steps that she'd taken, huge steps. And she's just like, bleh, bleh, bleh. I'm like, no, not on my watch, hon. We are going to do a big ticker tape parade for each step that you've done. And we don't do that very often for ourselves. You know, we just keep looking at, well, there still isn't this, and I still haven't accomplished that. That you and I are very celebratory with ourselves and our clients. So
Absolutely.
when we start talking about the things that are hard and that you need to work on, to know there is some relief. There's some parts where you'll go, oh yeah, I am really making progress. Because I think when the same thing keeps coming up, you feel like, I'm just stuck in the mud. I'm in quicksand. I'm never going to move again. And sometimes people really are, and they just need it pointed out.
Well, the thing is that because those patterns do tend to come back once in a while, again and again, we think like we're not making any progress. It's the same old thing again. And I've had this understanding for quite a long time now, and it really works for me and for my clients, is that, yes, sometimes that issue will show up again. However, you're not going in a circle. You're actually going in a spiral.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is you are coming back and visiting that thing again, but you're at a higher level.
Yeah.
So, yes, you got to face it again. But the great news is you're not there. You're actually up here now.
Yeah.
And so to celebrate that and to honor the fact that you come a long way, so to speak, that you really are in a place where you've got it handled to a degree where it's a lot less painful or dysfunctional or even debilitating. so you
Hmm.
can be free
Hmm.
and go through this. And go, oh, now I know how to handle it. So I've handled it before, but this is so much easier now because there's only like 2% of it left than there was before when it was 100%. And so celebrate that. Absolutely, the wins are vital because they're almost they're like building the foundations that will keep building stronger and stronger foundations underneath our growth, so that we can
Yeah.
be happier and whole and more happy, more joyful and successful. Absolutely.
And gives you hope of this is what it's like on the other side. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crappy in the middle. The hard work is hard. And then you go, wow, and look what I got to on the other side of it. Look how much
Yes.
more relief I have, how much more pleasure I have, and how much more empowered I feel when it does show up again. I go, and now I have this tool that I didn't have before. So it doesn't last as long. It doesn't cut as deep. It doesn't feel bad the next day. I got through it in one day instead of it feeling bad for a week or two. I mean,
Right.
that's really important to celebrate.
Absolutely. And there's
Hmm.
the thing is that there's a title to say what dating relationship issues are still showing up. We should also say what dating relationship issues are no longer showing up. Celebrate
Yeah.
that. you know, that's what this journey is about. The stuff. I mean, from my own personal experience, the relationship issues I had in my 20s that are nowhere on my radar now. They're done, gone, over, very complete.
Yep.
There've been new ones showing up,
Oh, yeah.
and I worked through those too. And so, speaking as I mean, I'm my own best client in a way because I've gone through so much stuff and watched my own patterns resurface and revolve around and get resolved. So I know when I'm working with my clients, the success is there because I've been through it myself. And yes, I ain't done yet. One of my favorite quotes about living a life, Richard Buck wrote, and Richard Buck's one of my go-tos for quotes. But in Illusions, he said there's a way to discover if your mission on Earth is finished. If you're still here, it isn't.
Mm-mm.
And so the same is true with growth. It's like if you think you're done, if you're still breathing, you got more to do.
Mm-hmm.
So why waste time? Get to it.
Mm-hmm. And once you see the pattern of, oh, now I see it. Oh, wow, it feels really crappy. Oh, the work's really hard. Wham to the other side.
Hmm.
And you, especially in the beginning, you and I are the reminder people for our clients that this is how it's going to feel.
Yeah.
Like, remember, you do get to the other side and how good that feels and how accomplished you. Oh, you're right. So then the work is really worth it. And sometimes I think what we do is as we should, keep looking at, well, what's the next thing I want to learn? What's the next thing I want to grow from? And we don't ever stop and look back, as you were saying, to say, look how far I've come. Look
Yeah.
how I don't do that the same way anymore. To just
Hmm.
pause on a plateau and enjoy the view behind, just for a moment, to really sit with this is why I've worked so hard. Look where I am now. Look where I am in this spiral. Look at the tools I have. Look at the outcome that's so different than it was before. So that
Yeah.
then when you're looking forward with more anticipation rather than dread of, oh crap, it's the same thing again. Because it's not. You are so right. If you've done the work, it's not going to show up the same way ever again.
That's the key, and it's about gratitude and acknowledgement. Because the thing is, we are on this journey, and I'm sorry to say this, and I said it already, but stuff will keep showing up. It's part of the journey because we interact with people, we interact with ourselves, we are participating in life. The key, though, is do we argue about it, fight for limitations, or do we go, oh, that's interesting, let me deal with that? Because
Yeah.
the other part as well is that when you start realizing and you look back and you see how many things you've gone through and resolved and made peace with, when something new shows up, which comes out of the blue, it seems, you go, oh, this is a lot less painful than what that was, so I can definitely deal with this. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, celebrate your wins.
Mm-hmm. And stay current with them. So one of the things that I talked with one of my clients this morning was this is going to be an ongoing thing for her. It's she's always going to need to address it and always need to stay current with it. And that when I said that to her, she went, "Oh, that's such a relief." Because she thought she'd never have to think about it again. And it's
Mhm.
not something she'll never have to think about again. It's just one of those things. And she can feel so much more comfortable and so much more in control and so much more prepared and so much more healthy dealing with it. And she was like, oh, that's a relief. Because I
Yeah,
think that's the other way we set ourselves up. Okay, everything's going to be fine and the relation's going to be fine, the marriage is going to be fine, we're not going to have any more problems. You know, the days you don't feel good, the day that they did, you know, the socks on the floor for the 14th time, or something horrible, awful happened.
Yeah.
Or the whole toothpaste tube thing. I told you we solved it with my first husband. We just had 2 tubes because I just couldn't deal with things squished together. But it worked to have 2 tubes because then I could ignore this tube of toothpaste. Because I told you I have a little key so you can roll up the thing and make it all, get every little inch out. It's just who I am. Another little secret about Christine. My little anal personality.
It's not secret anymore.
No, I guess it's out to everybody to know that I have a little key for my toothpaste tube. I was just so excited to see that invention. It was made for me. I know, I'm so funny. At least I laugh at my foibles and my idiocy. I think that's one of the reasons my husband thought they were. He thought they were charming because I'd make him laugh about them.
If we can't laugh at ourselves, boy, we're in trouble.
Oh, yes. So that just goes with this theme, doesn't it? Being able to laugh at yourself. Oh, there I go again. Oh, there's that thing again. I mean, if you cannot get, that's the thing that was so fun with the client this morning, that it was like she got permission to be human.
Mm-hmm.
She was just being very, very human.
We forget that sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's like we're going to be perfect all the time. So, no, being human is imperfect. That's one of the joys about being human.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say, say about, to err as human, to forgive divine. Well, the truth is that, yes, I talk about being spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yeah.
But it's like we're not spiritual beings bypassing the human experience. We're here to fully invest, fully immerse, and fully participate in the human experience, which means that human stuff happens. All the messy, crappy, silly, wonderful, exuberant, exciting stuff happens as well.
Yeah.
And some it's going to be kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And you can either try to suppress it, or you can say, oh, that's interesting. What can I do about that?
Mm-hmm.
So these issues which are still showing up, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. The fact, in a way, they are showing up means you're doing something because it's stirring them up again. It's like, good. Now what do you want to do with them?
And the other way to compliment yourself is you're noticing. Because think about the times in our lives, we've all been there, where it just keeps going by. We're ignoring it. We don't have the tools to be aware of it. It hasn't gotten painful enough. It just keeps going by. And then finally you're like, crap, what's up with this? Jeez. There's nobody that wants to make a commitment. I was thinking of the things I hear all the time. There's nobody that won't cheat. There's nobody that'll be true. There's nobody that wants to go out with me. There's nobody, fill in the blank. And those are the issues that we're talking about, that people have happen over and over and over. And when you go, what could I do about that? What could I be doing to make that happen? And what could I now do differently to make that not happen anymore?
Right. Yeah. Keyword differently. Yeah. That's the thing is we do create our reality. Yes. I'm going to bring the law of attraction for a second. It's like, we think it's there or think it's not there. It's still working. So when we fixate on denial of those things, or we fixate on blaming or judging that we did something wrong, or we keep making the same thing happen. Well, yes, if you keep blaming and judging, you will keep having the same thing happen. So why not go, okay? And again, this is the, I was on a clubhouse room last night talking about this idea, is that when we've done this, because you and I both done quite a bit of work, but when you started becoming aware and you started noticing different things, it's almost like you become an observer or a witness to what's happening, and you're going, that's interesting. So it's no longer, oh, woe is me and I screwed up. It becomes more like, oh, that's not supposed to be that way. What's different? What can I do to fix that, change it, evolve it, resolve it?
Yeah.
I said the challenge also being one of my mentors said once about how when you do this work enough, you sort of become, he calls it like being a Martian anthropologist. Is you look at humans through the lens of like, they're a strange species. What about them? What can I do something about?
My sister-in-law and I have that conversation. What are the Earthlings up to today?
Right.
It's so funny because it's one of those things where you think, if you are looking for things to fit the mold, there's plenty of them. Oh my gosh, you will not be disappointed. It's when you start looking for something to be different.
Yeah.
You'll find them, but you have to make that effort. So one of the
Yes.
exercises I give women is, because men don't have this problem about, oh, I'm over women. They never say I'm over women. I'm taking a break from women. You generally don't do that as men, certainly not as much as we women do.
Right.
We're going to take a break. We can take a break for a couple of years. It's just interesting that we do that. Yes. So I'll say, while you're taking a break, just notice men from 8 to 80 doing nice things for the people around them, in the world. And they're like, they'll come back in a week and go, there's a lot of men doing nice things. I go, how?
Wow.
Because you're not looking for the men that are your type for dating. You're just looking at men being lovely and honorable and conscious and aware and helpful, because they all want to be helpful. If you just keep watching, they'll be helpful. And so it's an eye-opening experience, just that little tiny thing. So I
Yeah.
go, this is how you can switch your thinking. Just this one exercise we did for a week. And they're fascinated now.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
such
fun
a simple tool.
exercise.
We're such a simple tool, yet the things we don't do it. And it is, I mean, we can do it for anybody. I mean, like, I could go out and do it, to see other men because I want to see other men being respectful, because I'm so fed up seeing men who don't respect women. But the thing is, if I keep focusing on men not respecting women, that's all we're going to see. But if I start saying, okay, let me see men being nice to women or being nice to each other, and start noticing that, I'll see just as many that way too.
It's amazing.
Well, it's because it's that simple. It's like what we focus on. Because the thing is, we'll see what we want to see. The truth is, do you know what it is you want to see, and do you believe you can see something different from that, better than that, more joyful than that?
So how clear are you about what you need and want? That
Right.
all comes back to that frequently. And what do you deserve? Who do you think you are? Because I can have people fill out all those lists about what they need and want, and then they fill out the list about who they are and what they bring to a relationship. And I see why they're attracting and being attracted to what isn't working for them, because
Right.
they don't think they're good enough. They don't think they're worthy enough. They think that everybody's going to leave them. They think everybody's going to cheat on them. They think nobody's going to want to go. Well, then that's what's going to happen. And women are always like, where are all the men? And the men are like, we're everywhere. So when I have them notice there's men everywhere doing nice things, they're all kind of floored.
Absolutely. And that's the thing again, is the spectrum is available to us. It's just choosing which part of the spectrum we want to focus on, if not, or the whole spectrum. And boy, it's so much easier when we start saying, you know what, I want to look for the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's so simple, really. I mean, that's the homework, right? It's like we're done now. Look for the good stuff, you'll be okay.
There you go.
Okay.
That's the magic thing. And it's so not generally, I mean, as much as we all want to say we're not like that, they've done experiments with the news where they tried filling a lot of the news time with happy, positive things. Their viewership went down. Is that so sad? Where I like David Muir on the nightly news at 7 on Channel 7 from 6:30 to 7, because the last 5 minutes I look forward to, because there's always a positive story. He intersperses a little, but a lot of the news of the day is not the happiest. But he always does this little 5-minute made in America, celebrating something. And I'm like, yes, that's the kind of news I want to watch more.
Absolutely.
So we need to take a break, but we'll come back and talk about a few more of the issues that typically show up for people and what they can do about it.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back. And we're back talking about the issues that continue to show up when you're dating and in relationships.
Yes, indeed.
So, certainly, one of the things I'm sure you hear a lot too from people, I was going to say women, but men, especially nowadays, men in our age group are experiencing this, the people that don't want to make a commitment.
Mm.
And sometimes there's a real reason, they've had it, they like their separate life, they'd be happy to date. And so if you really, really want a commitment, you really want to live with somebody, you want a full-time relationship, monogamous, committed, forever, then you need to look at why is that not showing up? Is there something that you don't value about yourself? Is it something that's still from your old relationships that have left? It's often, if the same thing keeps happening over and over, it's messages that you have inside of yourself, old tapes that have happened because for real good reasons. I'm not making light of that at all. I mean, you have been left. You have had somebody divorce you all of a sudden. You've had a relationship break up. You've had somebody ghost you after months of talking and meeting. Yeah. And if it keeps happening, what could you do about it? Let's think about a couple of things that you might want to think about to try and see if it makes a difference. Because you don't have
Right.
to believe us, but our goal is to have you at least try something new and say it either worked or it didn't, because most of the time it worked.
Well, one of the things that came up for me saying that is that, sometimes it can be as feeling like being betrayed by the partner, something like that. And the thing is, oftentimes when people start carrying on that feeling of being betrayed, is it starts to feel like they're betrayed themselves.
Yes.
Which again, as I said earlier about the fact doing the work on your own is key. Many of those things we're talking about when you go through a traumatic experience in a relationship is there's self-recrimination and self-judgment that you're carrying with you independent of anybody else. And so it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship or not, that stuff still what's the word? Festering, that's the word. Festering inside. I was going to say manifesting. No, festering inside. Different language, different energetic.
Yeah.
And so ideally, obviously, the sooner you work on it, the better. But if you're single, this is, again, good time to do the work. Because if you're carrying around this toxicity inside your system of all those judgments and blame, betrayal, upset feelings about somebody else that did something to you or that you felt like was done in the relationship or whatever it was you're carrying, first of all, that relationship at this point most likely is over and complete. So it's history now. But what's present isn't healthy. So rather than taking it into your next relationship and hoping your new partner will help you unpack it and work with it, which is unlikely unless they're a therapist, in which you don't want to date a therapist unless you're a therapist yourself. Anyway, that's a whole other can of worms to open up. Yes. But to do the work with somebody who is a guide and a facilitator for your process, so you can heal it once and for all and be free. First of all, it means you don't dump it on somebody else in your relationship. But secondly, it's one of the biggest pieces is that you don't carry it around yourself, so you become actually more attractive. One of the biggest things people forget is when you start doing your inner work and you get free of the judgments and blame and guilt, upset feelings and wounding, you start to become more alive. You start to light up. You become happier, more joyful, which makes you more attractive. Exactly. Like, ta-da!
So it feels like magic sometimes, I think, for people when they don't really understand the impact of what all this inner yuck is having on their outside appearance. Right. And, I've had this, you've had it too, that when our clients have done the work and then the people are like, did you lose weight? Did you change your hair?
Right.
And not necessarily as any of that happened. Just this inner glow that happens from the inside. And what I believe an additional piece to what you're talking about is if you've had hard experiences, more, really one hard one or a couple in a row, you think, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
In a bad way.
If you're
like
broken.
Unfixable.
Yeah.
Or see, I can't trust my instincts or my intuition because look at how they didn't serve me.
Mm-hmm.
And what typically we find out is it was saying, pay attention. And we were ignoring it for our old family stuff. There was so much chemistry. We were just enamored that they were giving us attention and we weren't paying attention to, well, there's a couple other questions to ask. And maybe there's a couple pink flags that could turn red, and just make sure. And we don't pay attention. So we don't honor that we have a really good Geiger counter inside of us. We just don't pay attention to it. We don't acknowledge it. We don't honor it. And to hone that, geez, it will never, ever, ever steer you wrong, ever.
That's the thing is definitely the case. Is, when the sex is so good, you put it all the other crap. That sort of that teeter-totter thing we do. It's like we forget that it's okay to ask for and hold out for an amazing relationship. So we go, well, this part's good, the rest of it sucks, but this part's good. And so to have that internal navigation system that really guides us accurately, because we tend to definitely like stamp on it and trample it and like ignore it. The one of the things that going back to one again, previous teachers talking about this is about that pain as a messenger, but we oftentimes take painkillers. We don't actually find out what the pain is caused by, because that's what we need to figure out. The pain is the messenger saying, I'm letting you know that that's hurting, so you need to fix that. So taking painkillers versus going to see a chiropractor or whatever it is physically is the thing that will solve it, because the painkillers just numb it out, numb it out, numb it out. If we are dealing with issues from our past history, from family dynamics or past relationships that were still traumatic, alcohol, for example, is not the cure. It's a numbing agent. So if we're not willing to face what is in the way, we're going to keep numbing it and feeling and being complete. Again, back to the thing about how you're more attractive when you heal stuff. If you're numbing stuff out, it's like it's like walking along and not using your right foot when you're walking. It's hard to do. You're not fully present, you're not fully participating, not fully functional. So I know I'm not flogging a dead horse, but I'm being very pedantic about this. Is that it's so worthwhile. It's so worth your while to work through the things you can't touch, those toxic things. You go, I can't talk about that. That's what you want to work on, because that's in the way of your true happiness and your next fulfilling relationship. Yeah. So these issues are showing up like messengers going, excuse me, want to work on this, because the thing is, when you can work on it, when you've got the time to work on it, is the best time to work on it. Rather than saying, no, not now. I'm going to go take a drink or go do something else to distract myself. So it's so key that we can do the work for ourselves, because we deserve it. That's the other part too. This thing we're talking about is because you deserve to be free. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be so fulfilled. You don't deserve to suffer. You don't need to, rather.
No. Oh, no. And even though we understand the messages that pain bring us, it doesn't need to be ongoing.
Right.
It's like you step on a rock, you lift your foot up. You don't stay on the rock, or you don't put on a sock so the rock doesn't feel as badly. You figure out how to take your foot off the rock and not step on a rocky place again. So that's the tools that are essential when the same thing keeps showing up. So if you've had people cheat on you in the past, if you've had people leave you in the past, if you have people that don't even want to move forward with you in the past, if it happens over and over, it's something inside of you that believes you can't have more.
Right.
And it's so sad and tragic and untrue. That's the thing I'm here to say. It is untrue.
Yes. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
We keep saying you deserve happiness. You deserve a fulfilling relationship with yourself, because that's where it has to start. And then if you really desire a relationship with another person, you deserve it and you can have it. Just you might not be going about it in the right way if it's not showing up.
Right. But of course, there's a lot of people tend to lie to themselves. They don't tell themselves the truth. We tell you the truth, but you deserve this. You're worthy of it. You can have it. But so many people out there, because I did it myself too when I was younger, we lie to ourselves because we think, well, obviously based on that experience, I don't deserve anything better than that. And so you're stuck in this loop of just repeating the same thing with the same relationship paradigm again and again, because it happened once, maybe twice. And we just go, well, obviously I can't do better than that, because that's what I'm stuck with. Well, like I said, law of attraction I mentioned earlier. You tell yourself what you're going to have happen, that tends to be what happens. But if you say I want to change, that's possible too. Mm-hmm. So it does come back to choosing a different pathway, because the thing is that, again, referencing Richard Bucker, I keep coming back to him all the time when I talked lately. But Richard Bucker has a book called Running from Safety that I love. I've read all his books. I love his stuff. Yeah. But he has a book called Running from Safety, and that talks about this. He meets his inner child, but he doesn't realize his inner child initially. It's just a dream he keeps having or a vision he keeps having, this young kid. But this young kid is in a prison cell or a jail cell, so you see through the bars and talk to him all the time. But what he doesn't realize is that his inner child till later on, and what he discovers is that that inner child is imprisoned because of his own beliefs he doesn't deserve the good. And when he
Right.
starts to have forgiveness, then the prison cell opens up and the kid's free.
Wow.
So we all have that child inside that we've imprisoned, so to speak, under all that false belief stuff about we're not deserving, we're not worthy, we're not okay to have. But the truth is, it's up to us, up to you, with help, how you do it, to actually have what you want by simply doing the work, because it's worth resolving those issues. So you can say, yes, I do deserve better. I am free to have what I want. I keep hammering this point home because I'm so adamant about it, because so many people don't get it. And frankly, if I could just yell out the window or from the rooftop saying, you all deserve the best you can have, I would do that if it would have an impact.
I wish we could, and have people really, really, truly believe us, even if they
Yeah.
don't know how to get it, that they would just believe it's a possibility so that they would go do something to help them get it. And I
Right.
think the other reason I was thinking, I'm so going to get that book, I wasn't even aware of it, that we put ourselves in this prison also partly because the world has not been safe for us. There's been so many unsafe things that have happened. And so we're afraid to even come out.
Yeah.
So we're in the prison for all the reasons that you've indicated, as well as, at least I understand this little box I'm in, and this is going to be safe enough. And even though there's no adventure and no other people, at least I'm not going to get hurt again.
Right.
Because we don't know how to not get hurt again. And nobody wants to get hurt over and over and over. You just don't. I mean, my hurt of losing my husband is horrible and awful, but I really learned how worth it, I don't know their word to use, because of the love. If I didn't hurt this much, it would mean that I didn't love so much. I mean, it really was so different when my dad died, because we weren't as close, from when my mom died, because we were really close. There was such a different feeling about it. And I was sad that I didn't have more sad feelings about my dad because we hadn't been closer. And pretty bereft in the beginning, because she died right around Mother's Day. That made it extra hard. I told my husband at that point, I'm going to go spend the whole day in bed. And I did, crying and carrying on. He kept bringing me food. He was so sweet. But it was really hard. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's really an indicator of I'd rather have my heart be open and love the right people and then be sad that they're gone. But they aren't going to leave me in the middle without a good reason, because we checked it out ahead of time. You know, I learned that abandonment was not my lot in life anymore. And I don't feel abandoned by my mom or my late husband at all. And I'd had a bunch of people leave me before that, and I felt very abandoned. So I had to do the work around that to say, no, I'm going to have people that come and stay, and they aren't going to leave for their own reason. They're not going to leave because they don't love me or because they don't like me anymore, or they found somebody better. And none of that happened, even though they ended up leaving. And it was such a different feeling. And I think people need to hear that it's our feeling about it. It's our feeling about it ahead of time before it happens. How do we get clear and a foundation so that we attract people into our lives that feel just as committed to staying around as we do? And they're willing to do the work too.
Oh, yeah. That's huge. I mean, the little piece on that is that for many of us, we had things more happen when we were younger, when we didn't have control or freedom or ability to defend ourselves, where we do feel hurt from something that happened. And so what happened, again, mentioned that inner child piece, as an adult, we may not realize that we have the strength to choose differently now. We still have that inner default wiring about, well, I've been hurt before, so I can't do it again. So that fortress becomes the prison cell, as you mentioned. So it's so key that we need to really see that there's a way out. And that's what you and I are both here for. Just to get, I know we're going to wrap up the show, so I want to make sure just to get touching a couple of points, is that all the stuff we're talking about here are things that you have dominion over. All the things we talk about, the pain, suffering, wounding, whatever that is not out of your control. And with help, with guidance, like with one of us two, or with somebody like us, you can be free of it and be whole again, so you can actually have what you want.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
Yes. Yes. It's so worth it. And it's absolutely attainable. 100% attainable. And just your life in general, with or without a relationship, because you'll still have a relationship with friends and family and coworkers. It'll be better. It'll just be better because you'll be more clear about what you deserve and what's okay having in your life. So you'll have better friends and better relationships, or the people that aren't right, they'll leave. Those are the people you want to leave, right? We don't want
Yeah.
everybody to stand around. We want just the right people.
It's not about putting up with people or putting up with people's crap. You get to have clearer boundaries. You get to love yourself, enjoy yourself, be happy, and attract much healthier relationships on all the levels. So absolutely, yeah. Those people who need to leave, bye-bye.
Yes. And wouldn't everybody want to know how to do that? And they can
Yeah.
learn that from us.
Exactly.
So the way you can learn that from me is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com, and click on the quiz. And it will take you to a few brief questions to answer, and then it'll give you my calendar so you can make a complimentary conversation with me. And then we can get to the bottom of what's been happening that you didn't like, what would you rather happen, and how to get there. You can also watch my videos and read all of my blogs on my Facebook page and my LinkedIn and my Pinterest and my Instagram and my YouTube and
Twitter.
Thank you.
Let's just make sure we, yeah.
You're always so good about helping me remember all of that.
It's practice.
Pleased. I just know I can always count on you. So, and for Barry, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, my stuff's actually quite easy because it's my name. So if you want to find out more about me, go to my website, which is my name, barryselby.com. And on the front page of there, at the top, you can actually click on the Take Your Next Step, and you can click on there to get a time on my calendar and fill out a few questions, same thing. So we can have a discovery session to see where you are and where you want to go. If I can help you, great stuff like that. At the bottom of the front page, you can just simply sign up for my email list if you want to just do that as well. My website has my book on it and other programs and other things you can peruse as well. And on social media, all my social media is my name except for one, which is Barry Selby. So whether it's Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, YouTube, where I have 1,400 plus videos on it. So youtube.com/Barry Selby. And Clubhouse, where I'm very busy as well. You can find me on Clubhouse at Barry Selby, and Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. Instagram's the odd one out, which is the real Barry Selby. That's because of a history issue. If you go to the real Barry Selby on Instagram, you can follow me there as well. And the bottom line is that either one of us can help you as you can discover, and reach out and get support. That's what we're here for.
And please share this video with your friends who are having some of the same issues in their single lives or in their relationships.
Absolutely.
And we're always here on Thursdays at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between with dating and relationship advice. And let's talk about dating.
Absolutely. And maybe your voice will be different again next week.
You never know who I'm going to sound like next week, right?
Ooh, tune in and find out.
If only for that reason, right?
Exactly.
What hat I'm wearing and how my voice sounds.
There we go. See you next week.
Bye.